Unicorns and falcons, and welcome to today's math lesson with me, Harle, and Miss Carlier.
Okay, so I'd like to start today's lesson by recapping what we did yesterday, substituting letters or symbols for numbers. So in this example here, we can see that S equals 6 and F equals 5, and it's asking us to work out the following. So looking at these expressions and substituting those values with these letters. So pause the video and have a go at these, and then restart when you're ready to go through the answers. So look at the first one then. It's asking us to do 2S plus F. We know from our previous work that when the number is right next to the letter, that means times. So we've got to do 2 times S, so 2 times 6. So 2 times 6 plus F, which is 5. Okay, and 2 times 6 is 12. Plus 5 equals 17. So our answer to this expression is 17. How about this one here then? Here we're doing 3 lots of S, take away 2 lots of F. So we're doing 3 times 6, take away 2 times 5. Well, 3 times 6 is 18. Take away 2 times 5, which is 10. So our answer is going to be 8. Okay, looking at this one here. Remember, with BODMAS or BIDMAS, the brackets means that we have to do that a bit first. We need to do our subtraction before we move on to the multiplication. So for this one, it's going to be 2 times 6 take away 5. So 2 times 1, which equals 2. And the last one, remember we talked recently about the fact that the line means divide. So it's S plus F, and we know that has to be done first because in the brackets, divided by 11. So that will be, if we substitute those numbers, will be 6 plus 5 divided by 11, which is 11 divided by 11, which we know is 1. Okay, hopefully you found those recap questions okay. Here is today's learning intention then. Can I generate simple formulae? So pause the video and get that written down, and then restart when you're ready to move on. Okay, you may remember this example from the other day when I said imagine that I own a garage and I replace tyres on cars, and I need to know how many tyres I need to buy for a certain number of cars. And we looked at the relationship, didn't we, between the numbers going up in the sequence, and it went up in 4. But then when we got to the next number, I can't just add 4 on because I'm going from 5 cars to 60. And in that situation, we then looked at the relationship between the number of cars and the number of tyres. And we know that most cars have 4 wheels. Therefore, they're going to need 4 tyres. So we worked out that we would be multiplying by 4 each time. Okay, and we can write that as a formula. So anybody could pick that up and go, right, I've got 200 cars coming in today. Apply that to the formula and I can work out how many tyres I need to buy. Okay, so the number of tyres we can represent with the letter T. It could be any letter, but I kind of like to choose a letter that relates to what I'm talking about. And the number of tyres I need is equal to the number of cars times 4. So 4C, if we say number of cars, okay? And that's it written in the simplest form. Some of you might have thought that we could write number of cars times 4. But remember, when we put the number next to the letter, that means multiply. We can use this information then to work out the missing information. So if I apply that value, substitute the letter C for that number to work out 60, how many tyres of 60 cars, it would be T equals 4 times 60. And I know 4 times 6 is 24, so 4 times 60 must be 240. Likewise, if I was looking at 100 and I wanted to substitute 100, it would be T equals 4 times 100, which equals 400. And then I can add that information to my table book. Somebody could ask me how many tyres I would need for any number of cars, and I could use this formula to help me work it out. It's not only numbers in sequences that we can use formula to calculate. We can also use formula to calculate things like area and perimeter. Okay, so I have an oblong here and I have length, which I've labelled L, and width, which I've labelled W, but I could equally have put A and B or X and Y. Okay, it doesn't really matter, but I've chosen L and W because it's length and width. And we know that to calculate the area of this oblong, we need to multiply the length by the width, because the area is telling us the space inside. So therefore we're doing length times width. But remember, in algebra, multiplication, the things go side by side. You don't need the multiplication sign, you just put them next to each other. So actually that formula would look like that, LW. A equals LW. Area equals length times width. Okay. How about then the perimeter? Pause the video and have a go and see if you can come up with a formula in its simplest form for calculating the perimeter of the oblong. And restart when you're ready to move on. Okay, so we have obviously opposite sides are equal. So we know that if that is length is L, so must that be, and then this one must be W. And when we're working out the perimeter, we're working out the outside, the length of the outside edge, the rim. The word rim is in perimeter, so that gives us a clue that it's round the edge. We have 2 lots of L, don't we? So 2 times L, and we have 2 lots of W plus 2W, and that will be in its simplest form. Okay, some of you might have written perimeter equals L plus W plus L plus W as you were looking round, working your way round. Okay, and that's fine, but in its simplest form we can write it like this. Can you think of another way of writing the formula for perimeter using brackets? Press pause and have a think, and then restart when you're ready to go through it together. Well, you can, can't you? Because we know that we've got 2 lots of L and 2 lots of W. So we could actually have written it like this. P equals 2 and then brackets L plus W. And that would have given us the same answer as if we'd used either of these formulas. So it's just another way of writing that formula for the perimeter of an oblong. Okay, so now we've got these formulae, can we use that to help us actually calculate the area and perimeter of this rectangle? Okay, pause the video, have a go at calculating the actual area and perimeter, and then restart when you're ready to go through the answers. Okay, welcome back. Right, I was just checking that my camera was still recording. So we know that the length is 10 and we know that the width is 5, so we can substitute those figures into our formulae. Let me just move the sheet up a bit so you can see it a bit better. Okay, so we have area, which equals L, which is 10, times W, which is 5. So our area equals 50 centimetres. And remember, when we show area, we do the little 2 to show that it's squared. Now let's have a look at the perimeter. So we're going to use this top in its simplest form. So the perimeter equals 2 times L, which is 10, plus 2 times W, which is 5. And remember, with bid maths, we know that we have to do the multiplication first before we add the 2 together. So P equals 2 times 10 is 20, plus 2 times 5 is 10. So P equals 30 centimetres. Okay, so the relationship between 2 variables that we can represent in a formula might not always be very as straightforward as just multiplying by a single number, like in this example here. So imagine we've made houses out of matchsticks, okay? And I've represented the number, I have the number of houses here. So my first house has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches, okay? And then my second house, I've got the 6, and then I have an extra 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't need to count that one twice. There's only one match that's already been counted on the first one, so it's 11. Okay, so I'm adding on 5, aren't I, with my 11. And then this one, I'm adding on another 5. Okay, to make 16, and so on. And you can see I've represented that in this table. Now, if you look here at the relationship between the number of houses and the number of matches, it's not as obvious, is it? It's not going to be 1 times 6, because or the number of houses times 6, because actually 2 times 6 is 12. Okay, 3 times 6 is 18. So it's not as simple as that. But if you think about it, each time I'm adding on 5. Okay, so I've got 5 matches, but on this one I've got 1 extra. So my formula for this is the number of matches equals 5 times the number of houses plus 1. And I can put the numbers in to prove to you that that is true. So if I have one house, I have 5 times 1, which is 5, plus 1, which is 6. If I have 2 houses, I have 5 times 2, which is 10, plus 1, which is 11. And so on. 5 times 3 plus 1 is 16. Okay, and I know that's true because I've counted my matches. But if I want to know how many matches I would need to make 10 houses, I could draw up to 10 houses. That's not a huge number, okay? But I could also use this formula to work it out, as we've seen with other examples. So for this example, so M, if I had 10 houses, it would be 5, and we know number next to the letter means times 10 plus 1. And I know from bib maths I've got to do the multiplication first. So M equals 50 plus 1, which equals 51. Okay. We can also generate formulae to help us solve word problems. So if we look at this example here, Maria bakes cakes and sells them in bags. And the question asks, how much does she charge for 10 cakes? Okay, so we know on her little poster that's advertising her cakes that each cake costs 20 pence, plus she charges 15p for the bag. So pause the video and have a go at working out how much she would charge for 10 cakes. Okay, welcome back. So we know that she charges 20p for each cake, and if we're buying 10 cakes, that's going to be 10 times 20p plus the 15 pence for the bag. So 10 times 20 is 200 plus 15 is 215, which in terms of pounds and pence, if the question asked me to give my answer in pounds and pence, then I know there's 100 pence in a pound, so then my answer would be £2.15. Okay. The next part of the question asks us to write a formula to show the cost. So if the cost is C, using this letter C, and the number of cakes is N, what would the formula be based on what we've just done here? Okay, pause the video, have a go, and then restart when you're ready to go through the answer. Okay, so let's have a look. So the number of cakes is the thing that's the variable that's going to change, isn't it? The cost stays the same. So the number of cakes, so we want to, our total is C. So C equals the number of cakes times the cost per cake plus the 15p for the bag. Okay. And if we remember that when we multiply, we can put the number next to the letter. So actually this formula could also be written like this. C equals 20n plus 15. Okay, hopefully you got one of those formulae as your answer. Have a go at the worksheet and let us know then how you get on with that on the blog. Any problems then please do let us know, as we really want to do our best to try and help you as much as we can. Okay, well I hope you found that maths lesson helpful, and let us know on the blog how you get on. For now I need to get on with my exercise and I will see you next week. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.